We're going to speak now to Kristine Berzina from the American public policy think tank Chairman Marshall Fund. Thank you very much for coming on the programme.
Thank you for having me.
Now, clearly, we've been talking about Ukraine. There is clearly a big overlap here, but we will leave Ukraine just for the moment. I just want to focus on NATO and the spending, because there is a link here with the concern expressed about armaments, countries not having enough supplies themselves, not spending enough. What is the situation amongst NATO members?
So NATO members are getting their act together. If you look at the increase in defense spending across NATO members, especially those who find themselves to be on the front lines, you've seen a dramatic increase since 2014 when Russia attacked Crimea in defense spending, and that has consistently increased. And now we have the forecast of 18 of 31 going to be this year above 2%. But the high end there is definitely in the threes. You have defense spending and, more importantly, capability development. So spending not simply to make sure there's bureaucracy at work, but spending to make sure that there are arms, that there are well-provisioned troops, that it is a war-fighting and defense-capable alliance. And that is a dramatic transformation. There are some countries that lag behind. There are some countries, if you look at Luxembourg or Belgium, that are also not on the front lines and should be spending a lot more. Germany is a country that has a lot of need to spend, but really also, despite a lot of criticism, is stepping up.
And bringing the link to Ukraine, is the thinking clearly that as countries, NATO members, increase their spending, increase their supplies, that has a knock-on effect and is a good thing, therefore, for Ukraine, because countries are able to commit more, support more?
Absolutely. I mean, the first step right now is to create enough ammunition and to create an industrial base that is going to first and foremost help Ukraine. But this is also for Europe's long-term strategic interest and for its own defense. Once Ukraine has protected itself, Ukraine can also be a part of protecting the rest of the alliance. And so this is the transformation from an era in which NATO was thinking about the Middle East and thinking about out-of-area operations to going back to its basics of protecting territory and signaling a significant deterrent to adversaries like Russia, but increasingly also to Iran, to North Korea, and to China.
And we just heard then in my interview there with the spokesperson for Ukrainian forces saying, interestingly at the end there, that they do have a plan B, which is ramping up their own supplies. Do we have any idea in any kind of context how significant that is, or is the reliance still really on the US, EU for support?
Well, it depends on what kind of operations we're talking about. The first half of that previous segment was about the successful naval operations and the drones used there. Ukraine has very significant drone manufacturing production ability and is really on the forefront of understanding how drones can be used in modern warfare. This is to Ukraine's advantage, and they're using this for strategic and psychological victories, as we're seeing right now with the ship that was attacked just off of Crimea. Now, the problem is that on land, on the front lines, the Russians are playing a numbers game, using all of their past refurbished artillery shells and creating more, buying them for other questionable countries from North Korea, for example, drones from Iran, and are playing that numbers game on the front lines. For this to be the stalemate that many see it to be today, there needs to be enough coming from the West, in particular ammunition, in particular shells, in order to keep the line where it is. Ukraine needs a lot this year to be able to maintain its defenses. With the increase in ammunition production and the increase of military funding across the alliance and the increase in production in Ukraine itself, 2025 could be a very different year on land than 2024 could be. But the high pressure on the United States to pass this bill is to have that ammunition for Ukraine now, this year, in the next few months.
Kristine Berzina, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Thank you.
Thank you.